China. Remember, over the course of the last several years, China has been criticized for its treatment of the Uighur minority Muslims. The United Nations has in fact described the treatment of the Uighur minority Muslims inside the re-education camps as a clear case of genocide. Therefore, a trip by the United Nations human rights chief has raised a lot of eyebrows to Xinjiang. United States was quick to express concern. In a statement, the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said, and I quote him here, "We are very concerned that the conditions that Beijing has imposed on the visit of Michelle Bachelet simply does not enable a complete and an independent assessment of the human rights environment in China, including in the Xinjiang province, where genocide and crimes against humanity are ongoing." Now, Michelle Bachelet, the High Commissioner of the United Nations Human Rights Organization, in fact embarked on this long-planned trip to the western province of Xinjiang in China. Now, this is, of course, the region to the northwest of China, which has been the focus of a lot of human rights organizations. The reports indicate that the Chinese authorities have detained well over 1 million Uighur minority Muslims here. China describes these facilities in which it has detained the Uighur minority Muslims as re-educational camps or vocational camps where vocational training is given. But the accounts of the former detainees narrate a completely different story. It has exposed China's human rights violation in Xinjiang, and there are allegations of rape, torture, political indoctrination and also forced sterilization that have in fact come forth. On the paper, the UNHRC did visit Xinjiang, but this is not like any other international visit. This has been a completely guided tour, which means that Michelle Bachelet was only allowed to visit those places where Beijing agreed that she could go. She was only allowed to talk to those people who were already earlier vetted by the Chinese administration. And she was only allowed to interact with those people with whom the Chinese government had allowed her to interact. Now, what is interesting is that despite the fact that this has been a 6-day visit of Michelle Bachelet in China, and she also visited the Xinjiang province, this is the place where China has been accused of carrying out a genocide of the Uighur minority Muslims. There's not a single picture, even of Michelle Bachelet, walking around in any of these re-education camps that has in fact come forth. Not a single soundbite of her talking to one of the locals there. Remember, this entire team of Michelle Bachelet was completely guided by the Chinese administration, and therefore this has been a level of censorship that many people would say was simply unacceptable, which Michelle Bachelet in fact agreed to as a part of her visit. And this is also what the United States also has an issue with. A trip to Xinjiang is a step towards clarity over the issue. In fact, this is the first visit to China by a United Nations representative for human rights in 17 years. And comes after painstaking negotiations over the conditions of the visit. But a guided tour simply does not solve anything. In fact, it raises more concerns because it makes the world question China and also its atrocities against the minority who are living in China. Michelle Bachelet, however, has defended her visit, saying that it is not an investigation that she had gone on, but only a chance for her to speak with candor with the Chinese authorities.
I should state from the outset what this visit was and what it wasn't. This visit was not an investigation. Official visits by a High Commissioner are by their nature high profile and simply not conducive to the kind of detailed, methodical, discrete work of an investigative nature. The visit was an opportunity to hold direct discussions with China's most senior leaders on human rights, to listen to each other, raise concerns, explore, and pave the way for more regular, meaningful interactions in the future.
All right, so that is what Michelle Bachelet has to say in her defense. Remember, the Americans have accused this particular visit, saying that this is an opportunity that China will use to whitewash its crimes in the Xinjiang province. Now, a visit of this nature has some clearly defined objectives. So let's tell you some of the issues that we've been discussing. Firstly, the whereabouts of the hundreds of the missing Uighur minority Muslims. Where are they? No answers were given for. Secondly, the status of almost about 1 million people, the Uighur minority Muslims, have been detained in the re-education camps. Very little details have been shared about them. Thirdly, the confidential meeting with the family members of the Uighur diaspora And also lastly, the access to Uighur camps that are being built by the Chinese authorities. But very little information has in fact been forthcoming on any of these crucial issues. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.